This podcast contains descriptions of violence against children and adult language and is not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Suffer the Little Children, the podcast giving voices back to the victims of child abuse murder and their families. I'm your host, Lane, and this is a special bonus episode, 10 Days of Jacob. In episodes 35 and 36, back in late 2020, I told you the story of 9-month-old Jacob Landin, a tiny boy with a big laugh and an even bigger personality. Jacob died in April 1987 from a severe traumatic brain injury. When the injury occurred, he was in the care of his mom's boyfriend, Chavez, who told several different stories to Brenda Landin, medical professionals, and investigators. Despite being the only suspect, failing a polygraph, and reportedly confessing to police, Stephen was never prosecuted for Jacob's murder, and he went on to abuse and terrorize Jacob's mom and brother for years afterward. For this bonus episode, I spoke again with Eric Landin, Jacob's big brother and the host of the True Consequences podcast. We discussed Eric and Brenda's efforts to get justice for Jacob, the New Mexico Attorney General's refusal to treat Jacob and his family with the respect they deserve, why they finally decided to name Stephen after all these years, and how we can help by getting on board with the current 10 Days of Jacob campaign. If you haven't heard Jacob's story yet, I featured it in episodes 35 and 36 of this podcast. I'll include links to those episodes in today's show notes, and I recommend listening to those before you listen to this bonus episode. I'll also include links in the show notes to Eric's coverage of Jacob's story on True Consequences, which, by the way, is an amazing, victim-centered podcast you should follow if you don't already. I can't recommend Eric's work highly enough. With that, here's my recent conversation with Eric. It's been a while since I covered Jacob's story. I think it was the end of 2020. And I know you've been working your butt off for years trying to get justice for him. So do you want to kind of go through all of your efforts?
So since we last spoke, I've been on countless different shows, YouTube channels, podcasts, even had some people write about Jacob's story. And then I think it was like April 2021. A little bit before that, we found out that the statute of limitations on second-degree murder had been repealed and that the Supreme Court had made that repeal retroactive.
Which is so unusual, but awesome in this case.
Very awesome in this case. And that kind of really brought in some hope, I think, for my mom and I, because for a long time we had heard the statute of limitations was going to be the thing that holds this case up.
Yeah, that was their excuse for a while.
It was their excuse for quite a while. And so having that obstacle overcome now for us, we were like, awesome. So we had reached out to the Attorney General and we said, hey, can you look at this case? And they got back to us pretty quickly and they said, we've looked at the case and we think that the DA should try it. The DA should prosecute it. And so we were like, awesome. So we go to the DA and we're like, hey, the AG thinks that you should try this case. And at the same time, the AG had sent an email to him, urging him, and then even offering his services or their department's resources to the DA in Socorro County.
Is this the same Attorney General who's in now?
No, unfortunately. So Hector Balderas, or Hector, if I'm going to say it properly, he was the AG at that time, and I think if he was still in office, we would not be where we are right now. We would be in a better position than we are right now. But unfortunately, halfway through this situation, his term did end. But essentially what happened was the DA never replied to me.
They ghosted you, basically.
Completely ignored me. They completely ignored the AG, didn't say anything to anybody.
Can you imagine ignoring the Attorney General? Who is the DA? Let's name them.
I don't know if he still is, but it was at the time Clint Welburn. But yeah, so that's when I decided to do the 10 Days of Jacob campaign, the first one in April of 2021. And that was incredibly successful.
There was like a flood of letters, emails, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so that's what we had said, like from the April 1st until the 10th, everyone that cares about Jacob's case, just call in, email, send a letter, whatever you got to do to ask the DA to do the right thing. And the DA asked me to have it stopped 2 days into it
Wow.
because he was so overwhelmed.
There's just so many. That's awesome.
It really felt really good. And at the same time, he had wrote a reply email, finally, to the Attorney General and said that he couldn't handle this amount of pressure that was being put on his office because of COVID. He was like, he had a skeleton crew and he was not able to deal with it. So he turned the case file over to the AG, to Hector. And immediately the office of the AG scheduled a meeting with my mom and I. And we were super excited about that. It was the first time that we had ever really been taken seriously aside from the state police in 2005.
Which tells you a lot, considering this happened in 87.
Yeah, exactly. We met with Hector, and he told us he apologized on behalf of the state of New Mexico. He said that he couldn't promise that he was going to be able to prosecute, but that he was going to look into it and investigate it and try to figure out if there was any possible way to litigate the case.
Right, so you had hope for the first time in nearly 20 years at that point. I mean, you had a little taste of hope in 05 and then everything dropped off again, but was that the first apology you've ever really gotten from the officials at all?
Yes. Yeah, so that was in May of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible, and it felt really good. It felt like we were finally being heard. It felt like people were finally taking us seriously and honestly believed us.
Yeah.
For the first time in 34 years at that time. So we believed that his office was going to work on it. And then as his term kind of started winding down, we stopped getting updates. And this was my first interaction with a woman named Greer, who works in the Attorney General's office.
Okay. Yeah, that name sounds awfully familiar from your last couple episodes.
Yeah, Greer. She's just, very condescending, and I don't know why she's in the job that she's in, because her bedside manner sucks.
Yeah, and not really the one who should be dealing with victims' families, it sounds like.
Definitely not. Definitely not. So she got back to me after I'd, sent several emails and called a few times and said, well, the problem we're having is that we just can't really find a lot of evidence, like the confessions missing and, all the stuff that we already know, Lane.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so when can we expect another update? And she said, well, if you want an update, you should call me because this is your case after all, not mine.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
That was my first interaction with her. And I said, okay, well, is there anything that you need from us? She's like, well, actually, if you could go and find some evidence for us, that would be great.
If you could just do my job for me. Wow.
And at first I was like, oh, okay. Because I was so shocked by what she had said. I didn't process it in the moment. And I got off the phone with her and then I sat there and I was like, what? Did she literally just say that she didn't have enough evidence and she wants me to go get it for her? And
Wow.
I was talking to my mom and my mom was like, yeah, that's exactly what she said.
That is crazy. Right to your face.
Right to our faces. Yeah. It was kind of a preview of things to come, I think. So during the election in 2022, I came up with an idea that I was going to invite all the candidates for Attorney General onto True Consequences to talk about their campaign. Secretly, it was definitely like a selfish move. I wanted to start building a relationship with them in advance of their potential election.
Which is super smart.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it was going to be helpful. And the candidate I really liked, unfortunately, didn't win. The thing that really impressed me about him, and I get it, politicians are going to be politicians, but when he walked into my studio, he shook my hand, he met me in my eyes, and he said, I'm so sorry about what happened to Jacob.
Wow.
And I want you to know that if I get elected, I'll do everything in my power to investigate this case thoroughly.
That means so much.
It really did. And he gave me his personal phone number. He told me to message him or call him whenever I wanted. And really just genuinely felt like somebody who actually cares. So I got excited. I was like, hopefully this guy wins, right? Because my experience with Raul was not great. It was almost impossible to schedule any time with him. When I finally did schedule it, last minute they changed it to be virtual, which is fine. Things happen. But we get on my virtual platform and I just said, hey, my name is Eric Landin. I don't know if you know me. And he said, no, I don't know you.
Just shuts you down.
Yeah, and I said, oh, okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself and about why I'm doing what I'm doing and about true consequences. And thinking that as an attorney general, he might be interested in the fact that I'm looking into all of these unsolved cases and that I'm bringing up the families to talk through these things. And
yeah, specifically for the state he wants to basically lead.
correct. And so I told him about Jacob, and I said, have you heard of Jacob's story? He's like, nope, never heard of him.
I mean, even just having a little empathy, that's not how you talk to someone.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, well, I told him about Jacob and told him about the case. He's like, okay, well, I actually only have 20 minutes. So if we could get the interview started, I would really appreciate it. So we went through the interview. He was very dismissive to me. I had to edit the episode to make him not sound like a complete jackass because he was being a complete jackass. And my heart sank.
Yeah.
Because he was the district attorney of Bernalillo County, Albuquerque at that time. And I had a little bit of hope because he had been doing a lot to, prosecute people who were doing wrong. And, he was touting himself as this fierce child abuse advocate and as this person who's going to stand up for the kids in New Mexico. And he has done some of that. He's taken the governor to task, on a couple of things that I agree with him on. But at the end of the day, his attitude continues to be adversarial, and his office's attitude towards my family in particular continues to be adversarial, and it's frustrating because he is the one that won. The good thing about Raul is he cares about being elected.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, so more pressure is better in that case.
Exactly.
I'll pause here for a quick word from my sponsors.
I guess just to kind of wrap up where we've been going and where we are now, and I don't have to get into like the blow-by-blow details. I think if anybody wants to hear that, they can listen to True Consequences or Crime Lines and Consequences to get that information. But essentially, we were asked to meet, my mom and I were asked to meet with them in their office to have a case update. And that was in January of this year. And I told them that I was going to have to go to Socorro, 75 miles south, to pick my mom up and then bring her 75 miles back up and then 75 miles back down and then 70 miles back up.
Yeah, no small task.
Yeah, so in my mind, part of me was like, wow, maybe it's going to be good news because they surely wouldn't make me do all of this to give me bad news.
You'd hope.
At least in my mind, that's what I was thinking.
Well, that, again, is because you have that little thing called empathy.
Yeah, and so, my mom was excited. I was excited. We took a selfie in the lobby of the Attorney General's office as we waited for them because we wanted to mark that day because we thought it was going to be positive news. So we were brought into a conference room where we sat with our victim advocate and two prosecutors and the investigator who, quote unquote, investigated the case. And we were told by Greer, as I said before, this is a very difficult case and there's a lot of evidence missing. And because of that, we can't overcome any of these obstacles to bring this case to trial. So at first I was like, oh, well, they've had it for 3.5 years. So maybe they did try. Maybe they did give it a good shot. And the investigator didn't really say a lot. My mom and I started yelling at them. And the advocate was like kind of had her cold palm on my shoulder, which was awkward and uncomfortable for me. And Greer goes into this kind of like diatribe about how we're not prosecutors who are scared of a challenge. And, we take hard cases all the time. And so we know what we're doing and we just can't do anything without more evidence. And so, my mom and I go home, I take her home and I start to question kind of what they were saying. And so I did a couple of records requests because I wanted to see their investigative notes. I wanted to understand who they talked to. I wanted to understand if they even tried to find evidence.
What the actual investigation looked like this time.
Exactly. And I didn't think it was unreasonable because in 2005, we were able to get a hold of those investigative notes and they were very thorough. That's the case that you've seen, Lane.
Yeah, the whole case file.
Yeah. And so when I got my records request back, I got essentially the file that I provided them and 3 documents from the University of New Mexico Hospital, which didn't really tell me anything that I didn't already know.
At what point did you find that the death certificate, there were 2 different versions of it? Was that during all this or was that before?
It was before, and I've been asking people to explain it to me, how and why there are two in this file. Wouldn't one be corrected?
It's undetermined in homicide.
Yes. And I don't know which one came first.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that, honestly. And the AG's office couldn't explain it to me because I don't think that they know either. So after they sent me that file, they said, we're going to consider this issue resolved unless you disagree. And I, of course, strongly disagreed that that was what I requested. And so I wrote them back and I said, I very much disagree with you saying that this is all that you are able to give me. It's not even close to what I asked for. I said, to make it clear for you, to make it simple for you, I want to know who your office talked to, when they talked to them, and what they said.
Which doesn't seem like a big ask.
I didn't think so. But now I know why they were being so reluctant to share this information with me. So several weeks pass and they finally send me some notes from the investigator. And there's a case summary. It's handwritten. A lot of the details that are summarized in his summary are factually incorrect. You know, my first red flag was when he described Juanita Gordon, the former investigator for the district attorney in Socorro, as Mr. Gordon, which seems like a small detail, but it was my first clue that there was something off. And as I read through it, there's a lot of factual inaccuracies, and that makes me wonder if this person even read the case file or if they skimmed it and did a really poor job of comprehending what they skimmed because they didn't fully grasp the totality of the case in his summary. So red flag number 2, right, is the summary just seems something's off. There was another red flag in our meeting when they said, oh, well, did you know, Eric, that the district attorney's office burnt down in the 1990s? And I said, yes. And did you guys know that Stephen worked for the county and was a maintenance worker and had the keys to every building? And they said, what?
They did not know that? It was in the file.
I gave them his pay stub. So finally, as I read through this, and it's 4 pages or 6 pages, it's not very in-depth. It's not what I would expect on a 37-year case. There is mention of one conversation with a doctor at UNM, and that is it. And so I wrote back just to make sure that I was understanding that this was exactly what I asked for, but that it was everything. Because I said, I'm having a hard time comprehending why in 3.5 years you only talked to one person.
Right. They can't all have passed away or moved beyond finding them. I mean, you have social media. You can find people anywhere.
Yeah, I found one of the detectives that was on the case. Easy. Talked to him on Facebook. So I just said, I don't understand why you didn't talk to Stephen. He's confessed twice already. What makes you think that he won't do it again?
Maybe he wants to unburden himself after all these years.
You never know until you try, right? So I was very upset, and I was just like, look, I just need to understand how you can consider this to be a thorough investigation, because it's not. And I got a reply back that said, well, the reason we can't prosecute is because your mom gave him an alibi.
Oh, that old chestnut.
Mm-hmm.
Like an alibi. I don't think he's capable of it.
Then I was even more mad, as you can imagine. And I filed a FOIA request for the alibi. I said, if there's an alibi, I would like to see the signed affidavit.
No such luck.
Well, that's when I get a call where Greer starts condescendingly explain to me that an alibi is when somebody, you know what I mean? It was literally like that.
Okay, you don't know that yet after doing your podcast for 4 years or whatever it's been.
I said, Greer, I know what the definition of an alibi is, but I'm quite concerned that you do not.
Right.
And so, she got upset by that. She's like, well, I've been a prosecutor for this many years and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, you know what? That doesn't mean you're good at your job.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's absolutely true.
You could be doing a lot of things for a long time and still be terrible at your job and just have a really lazy HR department.
Right.
So that doesn't say anything about your skill. Anyway, what she was talking about, which actually wasn't the other alibi that people call an alibi or that Juanita Gordon called an alibi. What she's talking about is when my mom is relaying the fact that Stephen's saying that I'm hurting Jacob and that I'm hitting Jacob. They're saying that is an alibi. But even then, nobody was with Stephen when he hurt Jacob. Therefore, nobody can alibi him.
Right. I mean, you were in California.
Right.
That's crazy. So that's the alibi.
Yeah. So I just said, okay, so basically what I understand you saying is there's not enough evidence. You didn't look for it. You're not going to, and it's my mom's fault. Just want to make sure I understand clearly that that is what you're saying, because that's what I'm hearing. And from there, like it escalates. And if you want to hear all the juicy tea about it and what I said and how, mean I was to them, definitely you can listen to True Consequences.
Yes, and you should. I'm linking it in the show notes to all of your episodes. There's like 6 of them at this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so here we are. The AG's office is not willing to prosecute. They're not willing to investigate. They're victim blaming. They are being hostile and uncooperative with us. I will admit I've also been openly hostile towards them, but that's because something that people that don't know me may not know about me is I always come forward with respect every time.
Right.
With every interaction, with every person until I'm disrespected. Then I'm going to match your energy.
Yeah.
If that's the energy you're bringing to me, that's the energy I'm going to give back to you. So while I am a nice person, and while I do have a big heart, and while I am kind and generous, I also will not tolerate being disrespected, and I will not tolerate my mom being blamed for something that she didn't do, or as an excuse for a lazy prosecutor who just thinks that she can't win the case because she's not even willing to do the bare minimum that I think would be required to move this case forward.
Yeah. Yeah, just even talking to the man one time.
Just once. I mean, he's a chicken shit.
Right.
He goes after people weaker than him, people more vulnerable than him. The second he's backed into a corner, I guarantee you he's going to cave.
That would be amazing. Is that why you decided that now's the time to name him?
There's been a number of reasons why I've decided to name him. I think the main one is that there's no trial happening as of now. So there's no reason to protect the integrity of a trial. And unless we get a new attorney general who wants to do the right thing, or we put enough pressure on Raul to make him do the right thing, there's really nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, he was accused for a moment. I know in other crimes, they've definitely reported on who might be accused, even if they're not charged.
Yeah. And look, all of the things that I have said are a matter of public record.
Yeah.
So anybody could have gotten his name at any point in time if they would have just requested the records. I've been keeping quiet, not to protect him.
Right.
But to protect any potential litigation, knowing now that where the Attorney General stands and his office being that's the last stop for us. There's nowhere else for us to go at this point.
Because you couldn't go federal with it.
Right. So my only hope now is by naming him, perhaps somebody will come forward and say, hey, me too, or my mom, or my sister, or whatever, and I will fight for each and every single one of those people.
Awesome.
To help them get justice.
And that's the whole worry is because he never faced any consequences for this, he did go on to terrorize you and your mom, and then who knows what else he's done since then.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely has not changed from what I understand, and so our hope is that we will get information that we can use to hopefully bring forward some sort of case against this person to make sure that he can't hurt anybody else.
So that's where you kind of have a call to action in if anyone has had interactions with Stephen Chavez from Socorro, New Mexico, then please come forward.
Yeah. Socorro, New Mexico, or Silver City, New Mexico. He's lived kind of off and on between both places, so...
Okay.
But, we've got big families, and I'm sure that we weren't the only victims.
Now, for another quick sponsor break. It feels great to hear the name come out because a lot of people asked that at the time. Well, why can't we name him? Why isn't anyone naming him?
Yeah, I just feel like there's nothing to lose and everything to gain at this point. And I honestly don't care. If we don't ever go to trial for Jacob's case, I'll be okay with it. My only concern is making sure that Stephen's no longer able to hurt anybody else. And so if that means that other victims have to come forward for that to happen, and those cases are pursued, I will be fine with that, because it isn't about revenge. It's about safety for others.
It's more protection than justice at this point, but justice would be a nice cherry on top.
I mean, justice has been elusive for 37 years, so my breath is no longer being held. I do have to move forward, and I do have to find a way to continue fighting in Jacob's honor, because I know he wouldn't give up on me.
Yeah, and I think anyone who is at all familiar with this case knows how dedicated you are to Jacob's memory and justice for him. So I have to commend you for that. You've been hanging in there for so long. God, at this point, you definitely deserve to get the happy ending that you deserve and that Jacob deserves, and your mom.
Yeah.
She's been blamed for so long, and still people say things like that about her and about all kinds of other moms who are in a similar situation and just don't know what they're dealing with.
People hear a 45-minute episode about somebody's life and think they have it all figured out. And, it's great to be able to look back from the context of the present and see all the mistakes that happen. But when you're living in the moment, you're not always as clear about where your decisions are going to take you.
From the inside, too. I mean, if they're looking at it from the outside, it looks very different.
Oh, absolutely. From the outside, we looked happy and we looked like we had everything we wanted, and everybody believed that he was a good person. But that's what those types of people do. He's so classic to every single detail of how these types of people operate.
I think there's a manual somewhere that we just don't know about.
There has to be, because it is like a formula, and he followed it. He followed it to a T. It's just baffling to me that I still have to be here saying somebody killed my brother and nobody cares.
Right. Well, I think that's one thing I can tell you is a lot of people care. We just have to get the right people to care.
Yeah. Well, I'm not giving up, but, if people want to help put pressure on the Attorney General, keep emailing him, keep calling him. 10 Days of Jacob started on the 10th of April, but it could be 365 Days of Jacob. I really don't care.
Right.
Let's just keep going and let's keep holding him accountable. And then if he refuses again, then let's put all of our energy behind getting somebody else elected into that office.
Yep. He's got 2 years left to prove that he deserves to be where he is. So that's the current campaign, 10 Days of Jacob. You're on the 5th day as of this recording. I'm going to try and get this out tomorrow.
Oh, thank you.
So it's during, the actual 10 days. And so what you're asking is for people to contact the Attorney General, and what's his name? Raul
Torres, Torrez.
So New Mexico Attorney General, email, call, send smoke signals if you have to, but reach out to him and tell him Jacob's case deserves to be prosecuted.
And it deserves to be investigated. So let's investigate it. I think that when people in those situations think that they can get away with doing something without anybody knowing, then they do. But when they realize that the world is watching, it changes how they look at it. It changes their willingness to do the right thing.
Yes, definitely. I'm very happy that you're doing the 10 days again. And I will actually put, links and stuff out on Facebook and with the episode so that people can easily send an email, whatever they need to do.
I really appreciate that, Lane. It means a lot.
No problem. If I can do anything else, just let me know. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you came on and we could talk about 10 Days of Jacob and everything that you've done. My God.
Thank you, Lane. It means a lot. And thank you for being one of the first people to tell Jacob's story.
I'm honored to do it.
I remember that time.
Yeah, you were out there a lot. I had never heard of it before, but as soon as I looked at that case file, I'm like, what the hell?
I really appreciate it. And, we couldn't have gotten here without you or your listeners. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Huge thanks to Eric for coming on the show, updating us on Jacob's case, and giving us a way to help him and his mom continue to push for Jacob's much-deserved justice. My heart is always with Eric and his amazing mom, Brenda. Please take 5 minutes to write a message, make a phone call, or send a letter to the New Mexico Attorney General, Raul Torres. The New Mexico Department of Justice's website has a Contact Us page at nmdoj.gov/contact-us. You can call the Attorney General's Albuquerque office at 505-490-4060, or you can send a letter via snail mail to 201 3rd Street Northwest, Suite 300, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87102. Contact Mr. Torres any way you can and demand a proper investigation into this sweet baby's death. Jacob and his family deserve at least that much. I'll include contact information for Mr. Raul Torres in today's show notes. As always, I'll post any future updates to Jacob's case on my Facebook page. That's it for this bonus episode. Join me next time for another child's story. If you like the show, please follow or subscribe to Suffer the Little Children on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Spreaker, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast listening app. And please leave me a 5-star rating and a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. Visit the website at sufferthelittleChildrenPod.com. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/stlcpod, where you can become a patron for rewards ranging from a shout-out by name on the show to bonus content and exclusive gifts. You can also support the show at ko-fi.com/stlcpod. Follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Suffer the Little Children Pod and on TikTok at STLCpod. View photos related to today's episode on Facebook. This podcast is researched, written, hosted, edited, and produced by Lane. Intro theme music is by Dream Note Music, and all music for the show is licensed from audiojungle.net. For more information about preventing or reporting child abuse, visit childhelp.org or call your area's child abuse hotline. And remember, if you see something, say something.